Knowing this about manifestation may well change your life. It's a very simple thing, but it's something that I knew nothing about back in the day when I got into manifestation, knew nothing about this, had no idea the impact that this tiny little thing had on me and manifestation. So when I first got into the law of attraction, manifestation, I was around that time also getting interested in quantum physics, quantum mechanics, but not putting the two together, not thinking that that had anything to do with this, because I didn't know enough back then. So I was reading a lot of things. I was reading about entanglement theory, I was reading about cell memory, all of that, finding it really interesting, but again, not putting it together with manifestation, until I got a year down the line with manifestation and wasn't making anything happen, as in, whereas before I got into it as much as I was. So I got stuck in this kind of like no man's land, where just limbo land, nothing was happening. And it was at this point when I realized that I was trying way too hard to manifest, that I also came across the Zeno effect in quantum. So that's the observer effect in quantum. As I was reading it, I still wasn't putting it together with manifestation. And then I had this moment that within me that said, hang on a minute. So during this time of nothing much happening, two things had happened. And they were big things that did significantly change my life, but that I didn't put much effort into at all, or any effort. I almost didn't expect it to happen. But the things I wanted to happen, I was actually trying to make happen, were not happening. So I looked at that and I thought, okay, am I kicking in the Zeno effect? And if I am, how am I doing that? Because this one particular thing, I'm not overly attached to the outcome. I'm not thinking about it all of the time. I'm not stressing about it. I'm not needing it. I'm not needy for it. So none of that. And I didn't feel that I was waiting for it. I didn't feel like I was looking for signs. I was looking out for it. So I really thought, I'm going to take a look at this one thing that I don't have all of those things with, and still it hasn't happened. So it had been a few months at this point. And I thought, okay, let's look at it. And in that moment, I felt this very subtle feeling, and I'm going to describe it like a splinter or a niggle. And if I had to put a label on it, had to give it a name, I would say it was the lack of. It was this thing wasn't in my life. And that was there. And it was just, like I said, like a little splinter. It felt pretty insignificant, but I knew in that moment it wasn't insignificant. I knew that that was my observation. So there is obvious observation when we know we're waiting for something, we know we're looking for a result, we're really aware of that. But there's this very subtle observation that we are not really aware of. It feels insignificant, so we don't give it any significance. We ignore it. Now, what is it? It's living your life, going about your day with it slightly there in your conscious awareness that you don't have this, it's not there. But you're not thinking that in words, it is just a very subtle feeling. When you become aware of it, then you're really aware of it and you think, oh God, yeah, that is definitely there. And that was what it was with me. And I thought, I think that is what it is. That makes total sense because that's there all of the time. So I thought, I'm going to have to look at a way of dealing with that. This is never going to happen otherwise, because it makes sense that that is, when these big things have happened that I really thought were almost impossible, I didn't have that going on, probably because I thought that those things were quite impossible. So it didn't, because I know that this is possible and it actually should be very possible, then it's there, this awareness. So it is a conscious awareness of it, of the fact that you don't have it. But it's not something you think about in words, it's just a feeling. So I thought, how am I going to deal with that? And at that point, I was very into talking to myself, but I wasn't addressing my subconscious at that point. I was just addressing whatever I thought this was, and I didn't know what it was. So I was very vague about what I was addressing. And I think it really has helped me as I've moved on with it to just address my subconscious mind. And that really was what I was doing, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I said this: please help me not have this in my conscious awareness all of the time. Please help me to realize that I keep forgetting about it. That's the two that I messed around with other phrases, and these are the two that I ended up with. The keep forgetting thing I did for a while, but I actually sort of landed on, please help this not be in my conscious awareness all of the time. That really worked for me. I didn't think much more of it. I thought, well, I'm trying to deal with it now. At least this is an experiment. Let's see what happens. Again, this thing was not huge, but it was something I really wanted. So I'm out for dinner a couple of days later, and I suddenly realised that it hadn't been in my conscious awareness for the whole of that dinner, whereas before it had been in my conscious awareness all the time. I'd be out with friends and I'd be having a good time, I'm enjoying myself, but it would still be there in my conscious awareness, but it wasn't it. And what that means is, it doesn't exist to you in that moment. You realise that it hasn't existed to you in that time. Then it comes back, and then you keep instructing your subconscious, just remind it to do the same. Now, what it's key to do when you realise that you have done this, is to say to yourself, wow, that's amazing, I did that, I made that instruction, and then this is what happened. I manifested that change in me. I've done that. That's awesome. More of that, please, subconscious. That's what I say now. More of that, please, subconscious. Then it will happen again, and it will happen again. So my time scale, and this is approximate because it was a long time ago, I can't remember exactly, but I'm going to say was about 2 months. So it was not instant. But I've worked with clients, 2 clients in particular that I can call to mind now, where this has worked in a week with them, because they've realised it and they've dealt with it, and this has happened, and then it won in one time, just the one time that she was free of it for about 2 hours, she got the text she'd been waiting for. But then I have other clients that it's gone on for longer, and I have a client at the moment that it's been quite some time, and she doesn't mind me talking about this. She knows that her issue is every time she's let go of it and she's in that state, she gets angry that it hasn't happened in that time. So she's handling it wrong, but she knows this. She's working on that. She's working at trying to get better at that. And I said, just ask for help with that. We can ask for anything. Help me handle this better. Help me be able to handle this. So it varies depending on you, but the key is to boost the signal. Every time it happens, boost that frequency of detachment by saying, that's amazing, I did that. How amazing is that I was free of that for an hour, even if it's just half an hour, it doesn't matter. Even if it's 10 minutes, if you haven't had 10 minutes free before and now you do, then that's good. And that will grow, you will build on that, it will get better and better and better. So that is it in a nutshell. That is for me, that's what I call the less obvious observer theory, observer effect, the less obvious, and that was it. And then when it happened for me, I thought, wow, that's been a good few months, and that would not have happened had I not done that, because it would have still been there. I would not have dealt with it. And I think what we need to do with manifestation is to not be afraid of feeling what is there at the moment, because we need to deal with it. And if we don't deal with it, it can't pass through. And that was the problem there. Nothing was passing through. It was just sitting there. This little observer in me was sitting there watching all of the time. I had no break from it. And you might say, well, when you were asleep, well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? I shouldn't think so, because if I did, it would have probably happened then, wouldn't it? So, I just look at it as waking hours. Forget about your sleeping hours. We don't know what's going on with us then. We just don't know, but we do know what's going on within our waking hours. So have a think about that, or even feel it now. You might just feel it and go, oh yeah, I've had that for months. I have spoken to a client who realised when I said this that she had had that feeling for 3 years. Around a person it was, and she said, I think I've had that in me every day for the last 3 years. So that is why she suddenly sort of had this realization, and she suddenly had this realization that she had it. And the interesting thing about that is she hadn't had any contact from this person for 3 years, and then she did get contact. There was other stuff going on with her, so it was back and forth, but the fact is that she hadn't had contact for 3 years, and she was determined she wasn't going to reach out, and then eventually he did reach out when she started to do this. I'm not saying the relationship ended up perfect then, because like I said, she's had other stuff going on that she needed to deal with, but the initial manifestation of the contact, that she had been noticing that subtle thing that it wasn't there, suddenly came in. I say suddenly, it was a few weeks after she started doing it, but still, 3 years, nothing, and then this. it was, for me, it's the thing. And if I ever, do you know what I have to say, as I'm talking about this, I don't think I ever have that now, really. Slightly, maybe on and off, but nothing significant, nothing that would really impact me, because I think my subconscious gets that isn't useful, that I don't want that. So because I've practiced that over the years, so it just doesn't happen. But it's something to consider. If you've tried everything, you don't feel like you're attached, you don't feel like you've got anything in your subconscious that's really impacting you, that could be it. You know, it was for me, it was the main factor with that particular thing. And like I said, it was about 2 months. So it wasn't instant for me, but I have known people where it has been instant. And I don't really know why. I can't really fathom why that took 2 months, because I've had things where I've maybe had more attachment to and have had that slightly, but managed to do the same sort of thing that's happened quicker. So I don't know. But it happened, and it hadn't happened. I reckon it was probably about 8 months before that nothing was happening, nothing had shifted at all. And then doing this did it. And then this is something, I have talked about this before. I talked about this probably on 2 YouTube videos, once way back, probably both quite way back now, really. I don't talk about quantum too much here because it's not really what this channel is about, and I don't want to confuse things too much and put people off that like this channel, that I'm talking about something they're just not interested in. But if you are interested in it, please do say, and I will make more, because I am constantly learning about it. Obviously, they say, don't they, if you say you understand quantum, then you definitely don't understand quantum. I don't, I'm just fascinated by it. And then you'll get people in the scientific community that would absolutely hate you talking about this in connection with manifestation, because they think manifestation is just a bunch of woo-woo. But manifestation is just that, isn't it? It's the same thing. It's just, you know, a different title. And yes, it is pseudoscience. I get it. It is. It's not really proven. But then, is anything in quantum ever proven? I don't know. Again, I'm going to stop it there, because I could go into a lot of waffle here. I could talk about this for hours, but I won't do that to you. I hope that this was helpful. I'm a manifestation coach, mindset coach, self-concept coach, and author.